What's up, you guys? In this video, we are doing a complete pack dump. I'm gonna walk you through every single item that I take into the field with me. Some of them might make sense for you, some of them might not, but hopefully it gives you guys some ideas of how you can complete your mobile hunting system to make sure you're prepared for any situation out there in the woods. Just to give you guys a little bit more background in case you're new here, I'm a full-time hunting YouTuber, so I spent the last 4.5 months traveling across 5 different states, hunting my absolute butt off with these items that we're going to talk about right here. But whether you're a saddle hunter or a tree stand hunter, whether you hunt public land or private land, most of these items will be helpful to you in some way. So without further ado, let's jump right in, and I'll try to link to all these items down below in the description in case you see something that's of interest to you. And as you can see, I have 3 different packs here. This is what I would consider my self-filming pack. It's a little bit bigger, and we'll talk about why I use that one. This is a great pack for when I am not filming, like if I have a cameraman, or if you're in a situation where you don't film your hunts at all, this would be a great option. And then I have my bino harness, and I included it in this video because I have some items in that pack that go with me every time into the field that I think are extremely useful. We'll start with the bino harness, and this is by Marsupial Gear. I'm not associated with them at all, but the thing that I really like about this is you can see my binoculars are fully enclosed. So that means as I'm hiking, driving, whatever, they're not getting covered in dust, and I'm not getting my lenses super dirty. But one-hand operation, folds down. And there's actually a magnet that holds it down. And I've used a lot of other bino harnesses in the past that open up. And what I like about this is you fold it down and it's out of the way. You don't have to continually open and close your bino harness. You can just use your binos, set them back in there. And unless you're hiking or want to move around a lot and you're afraid your binos are gonna fall out of your pack, you can just leave it open. So most of the time when I'm in the field, these are open so I can, at a moment's notice, glass whatever's in front of me. In the back, there's an elastic pocket, and that is where I keep my release. This is a stand, I'm not even sure what model, but it's a thumb button release. That way it's always with me. It's really hard to forget when it's always on my chest. Then I have my rangefinder pouch. This year I ran Maven Optics. This rangefinder is a beast. I've had issues with other rangefinders in the past trying to range through tall grass, which I do a lot of hunting in. This one seemed to go right through it and actually hit the target you're trying to range, which is helpful. And then my binos are also Maven 10x42s. I really liked those this year. On the other side, I have a little change purse, and I've been using this for about 10 years, but I fill it up with milkweed, and that way, as I'm hiking into a spot or if I'm up in my tree and I'm trying to see what the wind's doing, I can drop milkweed, and you're able to visualize what the wind's doing a lot better than just the dry powder. When you do the powder, you just get one little blast and it kind of dissipates. I can watch this for 20 yards, and it's crazy how you'll drop it and it'll go one way and you think, okay, the wind's doing that. But all of a sudden the thermals hit it and it starts riding back the other way or swirling. So it's cool to be able to visualize that, and it's a really underrated thing to be able to monitor the wind in real time. And then on the other pocket, I have face paint. I'm not a big face mask guy. I like to be able to feel my anchor points when I'm at full draw, and I feel like when I have a mask on, I can't feel that as well. So I keep this little paint stick. It's got 3 colors, brown, green, and black, and it goes on like a deodorant stick, honestly. Super convenient. That's just always with me, so whatever situation I'm in, I got face paint. But this bino harness is with me whether I'm scouting, whether I'm hunting, whether I'm driving around glassing from the road. I have this thing on me at all times. It lives in my car for the most part, but I always have the essentials. As long as I got these things and my bow, I can go hunting. Because the other thing that I didn't mention is this pocket right here. I keep my tags, and I keep my tags in this little Ziploc bag that has smiley faces on it because I'm usually smiling when I'm taking this thing out. So I'm always legal because I always have my tags with me. But as long as I got this in my bow, we're ready to go. So now let's jump into the main pack. And again, whether you saddle hunt or tree stand hunt, a lot of this stuff is gonna be the same. Obviously on this, I have a saddle platform. If you're a tree stand hunter, you're not gonna have that. But on the outside, I have my sticks and my platform. These are the Latitude carbon sticks, and then their new profile platform from this year. They both pack extremely flat. And if I am gonna add outer layers once I get to my tree, if it's cold out, I don't typically hike in with all my clothes on. So I will roll them up, strap them down as well. There's also straps down here at the bottom if you'd prefer to carry your layers down there. I just put everything right on the back here. And then when I get to my tree, I pop these bad boys open. And then I'm able to take my sticks off, ascend the tree, and then I would take my platform and attach it to my back. But In case you haven't seen these yet, just real quick, these are super lightweight climbing sticks, and I have aiders on each one of those, but I can get about as high as I could ever need with just those 4 sticks right there, and they don't weigh very much. And then this profile platform is really nice. It folds down extremely flat, and they accomplish that with this folding standoff. So that standoff just screws in right there, and then it's like your normal saddle platform, but by folding it down, it fits into itself and it folds down completely flat. So anyways, that's what's on the outside of my pack. Now, as we jump into the contents of this pack, I want to make it clear that you do not need any of these products. As long as you have basically what I have in my bino harness, you're good to go. So all of these things are kind of extras. Maybe it won't make sense for you guys, but I like to be prepared for any situation out there. So we'll just start on the outside. I always have water. I like Nalgene bottles because they are quiet first and foremost. They're not metal tinging around, and they're not crinkling like if you were to just get a disposable water bottle, and you can fit a lot of water. This is a liter. That usually is enough to get me through any hunt. If it's a really, really hot early season hunt, sometimes I'll bring 2 of those, but generally 1 liter is sufficient. So this pack is the Mystery Ranch Treehouse, and it's actually designed for tree stand hunting or saddle hunting. So it actually folds away from the tree. So I would hang my pack against the tree with this loop right here, so it kind of opens away from the tree. And everything I have packed in here is in the order of operations that it's going to go onto the tree. So I don't want to have to be digging to the bottom of my pack to get the first thing that goes onto the tree. So the first thing that I would pull out is this gear strap right here. So I would very carefully and quietly unravel this. And basically it's a 1-inch strap with an over center buckle on it. And it goes around the tree. And on this, I have a few things. One of which is my bow hook, and Latitude makes this one. It's the first and only mobile hunting specific metal hanger out there. I was using a plastic one before, and I was always concerned that eventually the plastic would break and my $1,000 or $2,000 bow would go crashing to the ground and explode. So having a metal one is really nice. This one also has a hook for your quiver, so you can put your quiver right onto that as well. The other thing on this same strap is for my second angle camera. So I have this little arm here with a ball head. So I'm able to adjust that, get it just right so it's pointing right at me as I'm kind of narrating my hunt and talking to you guys, AKA talking to the tree. But this strap is really cool. It just wraps around, hooks back onto itself, and you just fold that buckle over and it gets super tight. If you're using ratchet straps in the deer woods, you're an idiot, I'm sorry. Get one of these over center buckles, you can get it just as tight as a ratchet strap and it's dead silent, and it's a lot faster. The other thing on this gear strap is just a loop with a double-sided carabiner or an S-biner, I'm not sure what it's called. But basically I just keep that on there. If I want to hang up my bino harness as I'm adding layers, if I want to hang my grunt call, rattling antlers, whatever it is, I want to have a little gear hook on there to hold whatever it is. So that's the first thing that comes out of my pack, because without that, I can't really do anything else. From there, the next thing that would come out of my pack is my Sony mirrorless camera. And again, I know not everybody films their hunts. I'm just showing you exactly what I do so you can kind of get a feel for my process. So this camera would go right onto this gear strap up on the tree. So I'd get the focus and the exposure set, and then I would be good to go on that. So I'll set that out of the way. So now the next thing is my 4th Arrow camera arm base. And this is the same thing, same strap as this other one. It's a 1-inch strap with an over center buckle. So I would wrap it around the tree, hook it onto itself, fold that buckle over, and then this base basically has these tail ends that lock onto the tree and bite it super tight, and then I'm able to adjust that to get it perfectly level. So that is the next thing that comes out. Again, I know it's specific to filming your hunts, and the reason why I pulled it out of this hat is because I'm a magician. Just kidding. I pull it out of this hat because I want to protect my other cameras, and by putting some padding around that thing, I just feel a lot safer putting my cameras in there with it. But the reason it's an orange hat is I like to have something hunter's orange with me in my pack, because if you're a public land hunter, even a private land hunter, and somebody's encroaching on your space, they don't see you up in the tree. You could either shout at them, hoot and holler, try to make bird noises to get their attention, but I found that it's nice to have something that's high visibility so you can wave that person off, because if you're sitting there waving in camo, sometimes they won't see you. This they'll see from a lot further away. So if somebody's creeping in on your spot without knowing you're there, I'm able to kind of get their attention and hope that they turn around and go somewhere else before they ruin my hunt. At this point, I'm gonna pull my camera arm off the side of my bag there. And this camera arm basically drops right into that base. And then I'm able to film basically like I have a tripod, get really nice smooth footage all by myself without a cameraman, or even with the cameraman, using this. And I have a remote on there so you can zoom in and out, kind of control everything with one hand. But this thing is super nice. This is by Fourth Arrow. It's their Carbon Arm 3.0 or something like that. So once the camera arm is on the tree, I'm reaching into the bottom of my pack, pulling out my camcorder. This is a Sony AX700. It shoots 4K, does a pretty nice job, and I'm able to film everything, again, with just one push of my thumb. I'm able to zoom, turn it on and off, record, do all the stuff right here. It's really a great way to self-film. And then the last thing pertaining to that camera is the microphone. As you can see, I got a red rubber band around there because by shoving this thing in the bottom of the pack long enough, I eventually did crack the little case on this and broke it. So that's holding it all together. But I will say, for all of the camera gear that I take with me and how much I hunt, for this to be really the only thing I've ever broken, knock on wood, I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm not bummed out at all. But this is a Sennheiser MKE 400. Gets some incredible audio and it's really nice and small. So now we're almost done with the camera gear and then we'll get into the rest of the stuff. But this is all of my process as I'm getting set up in the tree. I'm trying to do this stuff as quickly and as quietly as possible so that way I can actually enjoy the rest of my sit. But one thing I have is my 360 camera. This is the Insta360 X4. Pretty cool camera. It's a great way to kind of capture everything that's going on around you. And even if you're not really into video camera and doing the whole filming thing, but you do want to film some stuff, you want to be able to capture what's going on so you can show your friends, a 360 camera is a great option for you because you basically set it up somewhere that is going to capture everything, and it's a 360 camera, so it's capturing everything around you. So this mount here is by Painted Arrow. It's this magic arm that you basically undo this knob and it can fully articulate any direction you want. So what I typically try to do is find a tree branch kind of overhanging up above, and then I can attach this with this clamp to whatever tree branch if there's a sapling behind me or something like that. And then I can adjust this knob and position the camera exactly how I want. And all I got to do when a deer's coming in, or even if a deer's not coming in, I can just proactively start that camera, let it roll. It's going to capture everything around me and I'm not going to miss a beat. And as if that much camera gear wasn't excessive, I also have an action camera. This is the DJI Action 4. And same thing, this is by Painted Arrow. Painted Arrow makes some incredible mounts, and most of them have a magnetic plate that allows you to pull them off and on and switch between mounts, and they're super convenient. I actually just have these action camera and 360 camera mounted directly to the arm, but this is kind of a similar idea. It just has this big clamp. I can put it around a tree branch. I can hook it onto my bow hanger if there's not a tree branch, and then I can undo this knob, move it all around, point it whatever direction I need to. And this is just double assurance that I capture all of the hunt with one of these angles. Deer hunting is really hard to self-film, so I just like to have a lot of angles and a lot of cameras going on, so that way if the deer walks out of frame of my main camera, chances that I'm gonna get it on one of these other cameras is pretty good. So now we're all done with the camera gear, and the inside of this pack has a pocket here, and a pocket on the back side. But before I do that, in the very bottom, I keep my saddle hunting knee pads. If you're a saddle hunter, you know how helpful these are to ensure that you have a comfortable sit. If you're not a saddle hunter, don't even worry about these, but I keep them in the bottom of my pack because they're the last thing that I put on. And I also think that it adds a little bit more structure and rigidity to my pack, which just helps protect everything else that I have in my backpack. So now getting into more of the hunting contents, in the very back, I have my grunt call. This is Primo's Rut Roar. Does pretty good. I like the original buck roar. I lost it in the woods somewhere on a public land hunt a bunch of years ago. Haven't been able to find another one since. They've updated it and I don't like it as much. But then I also have this Hooyman saw. This is one of the better hand saws that I've used, and it actually came with a 10-foot extension. It's really nice because the collapsed 10-foot section is only about that big. So if I'm hunting private land, I can carry that in, strap it to the back of my backpack, and then add this to a 10-foot pole, and I actually have a really long reach if I'm trying to trim shooting lanes and any branches that might be in the way. For the most part, I packed this backpack one time at the beginning of season, and aside from my camera gear going in and out, everything else lives in there. So it doesn't matter if one day I'm hunting public land and the next day I get permission somewhere and I go in and hunt. Everything in the backpack is the same. And the reason for that, and the reason why I put everything in the same pockets every single time, is so I know exactly where things are. And if I go into my backpack and there's an empty pocket, I know exactly what is missing based off what pocket it is, because I've done this enough times and I know exactly where my saw should be. So if I go to that pocket and it's not in there, I know that I'm missing my saw. That's another huge tip. Put the same things in the same pockets every single time. You want to get to the point where you can set up and tear down in the dark. I very, very rarely use a flashlight. I don't like alerting deer of my presence, so I'm as minimal as possible with the lights on. Only if I'm in a pinch or if I'm in a dangerous situation will I turn on my headlamp. On the other internal pocket here, I have a buck knife. I have a lot of different knives. This one I really like. It's a smaller knife, and I feel like I can get into the chest cavity really easy, and that just stays in my pack, always ready, whether I just need a knife for general purposes or if we're gutting. This does really well. I have this little folding knife. It's by Outdoor Edge. It's like 4 inches or 4.5 inches. But this thing is super nice if you do need to cut a small branch and you don't have a big saw. You can rip this thing out, cut it. I'm not going to be cutting down big trees or anything with it, but it's also nice if you're quartering out a deer and you need to cut some bone or whatever. You can do it with this saw right here, and it packs down to about as minimal as a saw comes. So those two live in the same pocket, and then in that same pocket I keep a couple zip ties. Zip ties are just handy in general. You never know when you're going to need them. I also use zip ties oftentimes to attach my tags to the deer if it's allowed in that area. So I got my basically post-shot kit right here. I got my knife, my little mini saw, and my zip ties. On the opposite side here, and this varies for time of the season, but if you hunt early season, basically until it gets real cold and frosty out, I'm usually taking a Thermacell. This is one of the nicer ones, and it does an incredible job. It's so noticeable having this thing on and off. This one is, I'll look up what it is and link it down below, but I got this little case for it, and it basically allows you to put an extra fuel canister and another pad in there. So I basically have it loaded up here, and if it runs out, I have extras ready to go. And then that little carabiner that I have on my gear strap, I usually just hook it right onto that, so that way it's kind of around my face and head level and keeping me bug free, because there's nothing more frustrating than having mosquitoes landing on you when you're trying to be still and not get busted by deer. The last internal pocket is this top one right here, and in here I have a lot of stuff jammed in. I have, for starters, one extra battery for each of my 4 cameras. So my main camcorder, my Sony mirrorless, my action camera, my 360 camera. The next things are more of my survival things. I've never needed them, but I want to have them just in case. I have a compass. Never know when you're going to break your phone, lose your phone, drop it in the water, or whatever. I need to be able to navigate, especially if I'm deep on public land. I want to be able to get out. I keep this little mini Bic lighter. Again, just in case. Maybe I get wet and I'm super deep and I'm freezing cold and I'm in trouble. I want to be able to dry out and get warm. And then I have my Spot SOS messaging device. This thing is what I call my oh shit button. So again, hopefully never need any of these items, but I just take them with me in case I don't have cell service and I get injured and I need some help now. That's what this is for. I keep an extra thumb button release. This is a cheaper one. It's a lot less expensive than the other one that I have, but I've lost one time tracking a dead deer, and I was out of luck. So I had to resort to this one right here, and I ended up shooting a buck with this in another hunt. But I always have an extra thumb button release, because especially being a thumb button, you bump it, falls all the way down to the ground. I'd have to think about it, but if it was getting towards crunch time and I bumped my release and it fell to the ground, I probably would just go to my backup versus climbing down, making a bunch of noise, and risk ruining the rest of my hunt. The next thing is an external battery pack and an iPhone cord. And this isn't just so I can text and post on Instagram and do all these things while I'm hunting. This is more of a survival thing. I honestly haven't used these very much, but if I get into a tight spot and my phone's dying and I need it to navigate, because honestly, I do depend on onX a lot while I'm out there in the field. I want to make sure that I have power and my phone's not going to die. It's a pretty easy thing. It doesn't take up a lot of space in my bag and it doesn't weigh a lot, so it's going with me. I have a flashlight. This is more of my tracking flashlight. It's a Streamlight Pro Tac and it's their 2 AA version. It's super bright. I have 2 extra AA batteries for that light. Specifically, I have some lens wipes just to keep my camera lenses clean. And then I have 2 little carabiners. One is an S-beaner like the one that I have on my gear strap. If I lose that one or need to hang something else up, I want to have the ability to do so. And then this plastic one is more of what I would use on my saddle, whether to hold my sticks or my platform as I climb and descend down the tree. I've lost my carabiners before. I've actually had one break, so I have an extra one with me. It weighs virtually nothing. So it's just an insurance policy to make sure that I'm able to stick with my climbing system while I'm saddle hunting. So that's everything in those pockets. The last thing I have other than snacks typically is in my waist belt pocket, I keep this headlamp. And if there is one thing out of all of this stuff that I would actually encourage you to buy, it's this headlamp right here. Best bang for your buck. This is basically the Amazon version of the Peaks Country Duo, I don't know. Peaks makes a really, really nice headlamp and it has a super bright red light. And this thing has the same function essentially. So it's really nice. It goes back and forth 180 degrees, so it doesn't matter which way you put it on your head. It's rechargeable with USB-C, which I really like. I've never had this thing die on me. It lasts a really long time. So as long as you're conscious about keeping it charged and every few days or every once a week, whatever, you keep this thing charged, you're gonna be good to go. And this thing is one of the brightest flashlights I've ever used. Again, if there's anything you take away from this video, please do yourself the favor and pick up this headlamp right here and thank me later. So there is one more pocket on the outside of this backpack and it's kind of more of a stuff sack. So I've stuffed gloves in there. I keep some rain covers for my cameras in there just because it's out of the way. But the last thing that I really want to talk about on this is this Peak Design clip. And this is for my camera. When I'm hiking in and out of my spots, I keep my camera right there on my shoulder so that way I can video anything or kind of vlog my way into my spot. And then when I get to my tree to climb, I actually put this camera away in my backpack just to keep it safe. That seems like a ton of stuff, but if you take out the camera gear, it's really not a lot. But you want to get to the point where you can tear down and set up with your eyes closed. But the more familiar you are with where your gear goes in your backpack, the more efficient you'll be setting up and tearing down. So what I want to do now is basically set all of the camera gear apart and load this pack back up like it's the end of the hunt. We're loading up so we can hike out of here. Well, this is the Ranger 22 from Latitude Outdoors. There's a lot of awesome features about this backpack, and I've done a full review on this, so if you want to check it out, you can do that. But I used this pack a lot early season, especially when I had a cameraman, because I wasn't trying to carry as much stuff, obviously. This is a great size pack if you're just a solo hunter, you're not bringing all the extra camera gear. You have the same horizontal compression straps on the back, you have all these MOLLE webbing, and it actually comes with a compression sleeve. I don't use that, but it's removable, which is nice because if you do like it, you can use it. And then on the bottom, there's more compression straps there. So if you wanted to roll up your heavyweight jacket, put it on there so you're not sweating hiking to your spot, you can do that. And then it's obviously got the side pockets there for like an Nalgene bottle or just a dump pouch. All right, so I've set the camera gear off to one side. We're gonna ignore that for now, but just real quick, there's basically one pocket here on the bottom, the same size pocket here on top. They got this really handy pocket right on top. That's great for like your keys and stuff like that. But then inside you have this pocket on the inside that's really big. And then it folds way down and you have the main compartment in this kind of compression area in there. So it's a very simple backpack, but super effective. So if you wanted to run it similar to how I had it set up, I could take my knee pads, which sometimes I just strap these to the outside, but I could put these knee pads in the very bottom. Again, just give it a little bit more structure and padding, protect everything else in your bag. So I keep a lot of stuff in this pocket on the back side here. So I would put my phone and charger, I would put my spot, my compass and lighter, my extra release, my flashlight, and I'd put that stuff right there. Now in this bottom one here, I would put my little mini saw, my knife, and my zip ties, mainly because that stuff I'm really only gonna need if I kill something. So it's the least important to be accessibly quickly. On this top one right here, I would put my headlamp, so it's always right there when I need to get it, and my extra carabiners. And then on the very top, this is where I would put my keys, my chapstick, probably granola bar, and that's all that I would really keep in there. On the internal compartment, again, you have this kind of compression sleeve. It's probably hard to tell in that video, but I would put my saw behind that, my grunt call behind that, and my Thermacell behind that. And the only thing I don't have in here that you probably would need is some type of bow hanger. I didn't want to use this for the example because it's so big and bulky, and the majority of the bulk is the little camera arm on there. So that's the only thing that I don't have in here, but then that all fit in there really nice. And then to attach my platform and sticks, I would just put it right on top like that. Take these compression straps, run them over the top, tighten those down. And there I got my platform, my climbing method, and everything I need to hunt. Again, if there was extra layers or if I wanted to put gloves, I could put those in the main compartment. I could strap them to the bottom, I could strap them to the back, but that's it right there. All you need is a super minimal system right there. Regardless of what your hunting style is, if you're filming, obviously you might need a little bit bigger pack, but otherwise the Ranger 22 is a perfect size for a saddle hunter especially. I want to hear from you guys down below in the comments. What are some products that you take with you every single time into the woods that either make you a better hunter, add to the experience being out there in the field, but what are you taking with you that you deem worthwhile of carrying into the woods with you? I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you like this video. It helps me out a ton, but I will see you guys in the next video.